In the last part of this Composite Vilgax series, I talked about the original series versions of Vilgax and their feats. I covered Base Vilgax, Cyborg Vilgax, and Future Vilgax. So if you didn't see that video, I recommend checking it out. But on to this video, I'll be talking about the versions of Vilgax from Alien Force. I was originally going to cover all the versions of Vilgax from both Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, but there's too many versions to cover, so I'm just going to do Alien Force for this video and then do Ultimate Alien in the next video. But let's get into it. The first version of Vilgax I'll be talking about is the first Vilgax we see, which is in Season 3, Two-Powder. And he's called Conqueror of 10 Worlds Vilgax, so for simplicity I'm going to call him Cowgax. It's not a good name, but it's the best name that I could think of. So, unlike Cyborg Vilgax, Cowgax discarded of his armor, his cyborg armor, thus making him weaker. However, he still powers of the strongest warriors, different planets. Before getting into the abilities Cowgax has, let's talk about his weapons. Cowgax wields a sword that can be encased in shards resembling either Petrosapien shards or Tadenite. I feel like it's most likely the latter. His sword can also be set ablaze. Tadenite, which I said is what Cowgax's sword most likely encases itself in. Tadenite is the strongest and most durable material in the universe. It's capable of potentially harming the worst, and can penetrate materials like infinitum, which is what Pyros, I can't say, NLG species' containment suits are made of. And we saw Kevin absorb Tadenite and then cut Pandor's containment suit in his main episode. In the game Vilgax attacks, Vilgax also has a blaster. This blaster is also present in official artwork, along with a hammer that Cowgax wields. And I assume that Cowgax's hammer was meant to be what his sword is now. We don't know if Vilgax's hammer has any additional abilities, or if it's just a regular hammer, but I would assume the hammer has all the abilities that the sword does, considering the hammer was supposed to be the sword. And as for the blaster, we don't know anything about it, so it could just be a regular blaster as well. So, despite Cowgax no longer wearing cyborg armor, he's still incredibly strong. He is even stronger than Cyborg Vilgax, because of his enhanced strength. He was able to clash against and one-shot a fully grown Humongosaur, and the clash between their fists sent shockwaves across city blocks. He was also able to manhandle Jet Ray and beat Ultimos with little difficulty. As for Cowgax's additional abilities, he has a yellowy gold armor on his left arm that goes from his shoulder down to his fingertips. The gauntlet on his left hand allows for him to create shields that can tank attacks from Ultimos, Jet Ray's beams, and Scare's belly beams, to name a few. Then you can also make force fields, rather than shields, that can cover him from... His gauntlet allows for him to hurt intangible beings like Big Chill or Ghost Freak, or can create energy spheres around his hands that can also be used to attack with. So, for like what Yusuke did in the end of Yu Yu Hakusho. As for his other abilities, he has strong breath that he can use to knock back opponents, he can fly, and has laser vision. His lasers are like dark sides, so that they follow the opponent that they were fired at, and they bend and curve around like dark sides do. These lasers are also fast enough to catch up with a Kinesiolarian, that being Helen. On Vilgax's right hand, he has a glove which has a gem in the middle which fires energy beams powerful enough to where Vilgax was surprised that Ultimos wasn't killed by it, implying that the lasers kill whatever is hit by them easily. On to the next version of Vilgax, and there's Vilgax's true form. And no, I don't mean this form. I mean this form. Vilgax can turn into this form of himself if he was in a large body of water. However, when he transforms, whatever he's wearing is destroyed. In this form, Vilgax gets 8 tentacles that he can use to grab a hold of people from much further distances than his regular arms could, and can use them to drag people underwater. He's had multiple rows of sharp teeth that we can see Vilgax try to use by eating Ultimate Swampfire. Other than that, though, there isn't really much to talk about with this form, especially when you consider that he was contained for most of the time he was in this form. Except he did survive his ship exploding, but he's done that a dozen times by now, so whatever. Granted, this time he wasn't wearing any armor, which makes it more impressive, but still, I couldn't really care less. In Primus, when Vilgax was fighting Ben, he fell into the codon stream, which altered Vilgax's body, making him bigger, about the same size as Weybig. This allowed for him to fight against Weybig as well, though the fight didn't go as well for Vilgax. Also in Primus, Vilgax was able to get a hold of the Omnitrix and was able to turn into aliens without being defaulted to Ben's human form like Albedo was. The alien that we saw Vilgax turn into was Goop, but he should be able to turn into Swampfire, Humongousaur, Ekawaka, Waybig, or even Alien X. If Vilgax did turn to even Alien X though, he wouldn't be able to do anything since he didn't have control over the form. But it's still worth noting. Since Vilgax had the Omnitrix at this point, this means he had the failsafes that Alien Force Ben would have had at the time as well. The failsafe that we see from the recalibrated Omnitrix is the bioenergy feedback, which we see is what prevents Ben's form from being damaged, unlike Albedo's in his debut. I think now's a good time to talk about Vilgax's Biode army, which consists of thousands. Unfortunately, we never see this army fight normally, but what I mean by that is the only time we saw them fight was when their DNA was synced with the Omnitrix. Vilgax's Biode army has blank DNA, allowing for the Omnitrix to work on them. In the Alien Force finale, when Vilgax gets a hold of the Omnitrix for the second time, he has synced the Omnitrix with the Biode DNA somehow, allowing for them all to transform. Meaning Vilgax can create an army of thousands of Accessorians like we saw in the finale against Albedo, or 1,000 Methanosians, 1,000 Sonorosians that can duplicate into thousands of more Sonorosians, thousands of Gormans, thousands of Toku Stars, and so on, which is absurd. Just imagine an army of 1,000 Waybigs. That's just ridiculous. But, yeah. That's pretty much it for all the Alien Force Vilgaxes. People usually debate whether Conqueror of 10 Worlds Vilgax is stronger or weaker than future Vilgax. I've even seen people argue that Cyborg Vilgax is stronger than Conqueror of 10 Worlds Vilgax, but I believe Conqueror of 10 Worlds Vilgax is stronger than both versions of the original series Vilgax. That's pretty much all for this video. This video was honestly shorter than I was expecting. I was expecting this to be longer than the original series Vilgax one because there's more versions of Vilgax here than there is in the original series, but I assume that's because I didn't really discuss any of the feats. I kind of just discussed Vilgax's abilities, since there aren't really too many feats that I remember from the Alien Force Vilgax, except for like him clashing with Humongousaur or beating down on Jet Ray. I think this is worth mentioning, that Conqueror of 10 Worlds Vilgax lost to Diamond Head. However, in that fight, it didn't really make a lot of sense. Diamond Head used abilities that he was never shown to have before, and I feel like Diamond Head was a bit too strong, because it basically implies that Diamond Head has a higher AP than fully grown Humongousaur, which I think we all know just isn't true. But, yeah. Wait, before I leave, I want to say that the software that I'm using to make these videos my access to it has run out, so I'm currently making this video on a 7-day free trial. So when that 7 days is up, I probably won't be able to make videos for a while. So I'm going to try and get all the Composite Vilgax videos out within this week, because if I don't, it's going to suck. But after the Composite Vilgax videos, I might not make a video for like a couple months at least. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, that's all, and bye.